In this lesson, you're going to learn about habitat. Habitat. What is a habitat? A habitat is those places where the animals live, where they can find food, shelter, protection, and mate. For examples, mountains, grasslands, rainforest, and desert. Different animals live in different habitats. Today we're going to learn about 5 types of habitat. The first type is polar regions. Polar regions, where you can find penguins and polar bears in the polar regions. The second type is ocean. Ocean. We can find different kinds of fishes in the ocean. Jungle. Jungle. We can find tigers, birds, butterflies, lizards, and monkeys in the jungle. Desert. Desert. We can find camels and sand in the desert. The last one is mountains. Mountains, where we can find rocks and snow in the mountains. Look at the habitat. What colors are they? What colors are they? First, we look at the polar regions. The polar regions are white and blue. You might think that, where are the polar regions? But before we know the location of the polar regions, we have to learn about the North Pole and the South Pole. What is a North Pole? A North Pole is the point at the northern end of the Earth. South Pole is the point at the northern end of the Earth. As you can see in the picture here, this is the North Pole and this is the South Pole. So, where are the polar regions? As we can see the picture here, can you see the red circle here? These are the areas surrounded the North Pole. This is the North Pole, and these areas we called polar region. This is the northern polar region. And in this picture, we can see the South Pole and the areas surrounded the South Pole we called polar region. We call polar region. So these two areas, we call them polar regions. And we can find polar bears in the northern polar region. And we can find penguins in the southern polar region. What color is the ocean? The ocean is blue, green, and white. What colors is the jungle? As you can see in the pictures, the jungle is green and brown. What colors is the desert? The desert is yellow. For some of the deserts, they are brown. Different deserts, different colors. Because of the sand colors. Some sand colors is yellow or brown. What color is the mountains? The mountains are gray, white, and green. Why is it gray? Because of the rocks. Why is it white? It's because of the snow. Why is it green? Because of the trees. What do you find in the habitat? We can see sand, trees, rocks, coral, and snow in different habitats. And where can you find these things? You can find sand in the desert. Say, I find sand in the desert. I find sand in the desert. What do you find in the jungle? You can find trees in the jungle. You can say, I find trees in the jungle. I find trees in the jungle. What do you find in the mountains? You can find rocks in the mountains. You can say, I find rocks in the mountains. I find rocks in the mountains. Coral. What do you find in the ocean? You can say, I find coral in the ocean. I find coral in the ocean. What do you find in the polar region? You can say, I find snow in the polar regions. I find snow in the polar regions. And you can also find snow in the mountains. Then you can say, I find snow in the mountains. I find snow in the mountains.